And as time flies by, you'll open up your eyes wide. You feel it's gonna go your way. Hey, hey, it's a brand new day. Hey, 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 it's a brand.
Welcome back to Marbella Now. My name is Nicole King, and I am delighted to welcome back to the program Georgina Shaw of Shaw Marketing Services, a very familiar face on Marbella Now and in Marbella and Manilva,
Yes.
Everywhere you go. In
Everywhere,
fact.
Costa del Sol.
Exactly, the world. Really lovely to actually see you in person. I don't want to COVID touch,
I know,
but
it's so nice to see you
it
as
has
well.
been a long time. Happy Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Halloween, Happy everything.
Thank you, thank you.
How's it been? I know that you had an interesting time with Lucas with studying when we met together
That's
last
right,
time.
that's
and,
right.
Talking about all the challenges of being a school teacher as well as a mother and businesswoman.
Yes. Well, thankfully the schools have been back since September, so that's been consistent. And apart from having to quarantine for 10 days because one of his friends tested positive, we've been back in the school system and it's all been smooth. So that has made a huge difference to everything. And we've got an online tutor as well to help a bit with the homework and kind of keep things ticking over. So yeah, we're under control now, I think, on the schooling front.
But they say every adversity is an opportunity, and I think that was an opportunity to come to grips with perhaps what the Spanish education entails, which is very different to what we're used to, the way that they want the presentation of the work, the way they want the work done. So sometimes having that interaction is actually a benefit.
Yeah, I mean, it's very prescriptive. You know, you can't just sort of ad-lib the gist of things. You know, they want you to write out the definition that you should have learned in your book. And I think, you know, I think that there's pros and cons with that. My son seems to be working well within that system, but I'm certainly realizing my own limitations as his needs go up and the complexities of the language go up. I'm less able to help him with it. I thought that would be a few years down the line, actually.
Well, even the way they do mathematics is very different to us. So we always, like when we're doing division, it's long division and you work it on, and you must show your workings. Well, in Spanish, you do it backwards and they don't want you to show your workings.
You just keep going down the page. It's ridiculous.
It's really strange. So obviously, when you haven't been grown up in the system, that helps. Work-wise, we were also talking about how nice it is in many occasions to not have to come together. Zoom has taken a larger part of a work day, which is very good for the environment, but also for our quality of life. How are you finding your clients and everyone's adapting to the changes?
I think I agree with that. I think probably the Zoom and the lack of travelling and things has been a huge advantage for our productivity and for our impact on the environment. And the vast majority of clients have been very happy to accept that. And actually, I think we've seen that video conferencing specifically, rather than being on the phone, really does replace the vast majority of what we needed to meet for. So I'm very grateful for that because it's saving me a lot of time in the day. And then what I'll do is I'll sort of schedule in a few face-to-face meetings every now and again just to kind of touch base like we are doing here and kind of get that personal touch. But I think, you know, if people aren't using Zoom or they think it's not the same, I would encourage them to try it because I think it's a very, very good replacement.
I was very surprised during lockdown. We carried on the show without changing. Everything changed to Zoom, and I thought it would be very impersonal.
Yeah.
I found it quite contrary. It was very personal because I could chat with people before, I could chat with them afterwards, as opposed to now you come and go and we don't get that personal touch even though we're here in person. And I think that can be said for a lot of people before lockdown. In the old normal, we didn't have time for each other. And now we need to take a bit more time.
Well, I think if you save the time on the commute to get somewhere, you can take the time with having a bit of a catch-up and finding out how people are getting on, because we are all suffering from different challenges that we wouldn't have done before, and so it's nice to be able to take that time.
One of the things I've noticed in a positive respect, I'm very much better together. Although I think it's a hard thing for some people to get their head round when it means direct competition, that we can do things together. However, with, again, back to lately, I do see that there is more understanding that communication is a two-way street. I think particularly in Marbella, it's evident that when we network and when we communicate, we're very often just giving our message and not taking the time to hear what other people's message is, to see if maybe we can then be an instrument to passing their message on, also in exchange of them receiving our message. This is a big part of the crux of what your business is revolved around.
Absolutely.
Your advice, please, to the public on how they can do this, because that is what communication is. It has to be two-way.
It is, and I think it's interesting, isn't it, that when we move into the marketing sphere rather than just the talking sphere, we tend to broadcast and we sort of press the transmit button and don't want to let it go because we just want to have our piece. Whereas actually, marketing in the same way as good conversation is listening, finding out what your customers or your clients need, and then delivering that in a way that shows them that you've heard them. So even if you're only doing one side at a time, let's say social media, for example, is a great example of this. If you've had a problem or you've come across an issue and you've solved it, tell your clients, this is what's happened. We found out that people were struggling with this, therefore we've done this. And people will really appreciate the fact that you are listening and you're being active and engaged. And what we've definitely seen is the younger demographic, so the millennials and the Generation Z, they want to see how you can help them. You, the company owner, the face, the person that's going to deal with them. And they want that personal touch and they want the flexibility in a way that I think probably past consumers kind of just accept the message and the product and take it or leave it. So I think that that's a positive, actually, because we can all improve our business and evolve it if we listen to our customers.
You have a very varied customer base, which is nice. One of the first things that you were invested in when we met was Arboretum,
right?
Which again, environmental, we were laughing in the first United Nationalities that we had it on the list because you, Nicole, but the environment, it was way down, and in just 5 years it's come to the top of the list environment. But tell us a bit about the other companies that you're collaborating with and the messages that you are sharing on their behalf.
Well, you're right, I have got a lovely varied client base, and it's one of the joys of my job, really, to be able to learn so much from so many different people and pass so many different messages on. So along the sustainability line, I work with Sarah Spencer from Eco Passion, who sells plastic-free products, and I really enjoy helping her get the message of sustainability across, as well as simply selling products. So we developed together a really great guide for how to be more sustainable with some really practical tips on how you can minimize your impact, which I think is really important. I also been working for many years, as you know, with Specsavers, and the store is just down the road here from your studio in Marbella.
Yes, it's the guidance point of we're by Specsavers.
Exactly.
It's only for the English.
Exactly, and we're looking to help organisations at the moment and charities through the work, because we know that there are so many people in need. So we are supporting the ONTHE Foundation for Guide Dogs, and for any English people that don't know what that is, it is basically the Association for Blind People. And so basically what we're doing is we're fundraising to fund training and provision of free guide dogs to
Fantastic.
people with visual
In English it would be once.
Yes, exactly.
Because in fact I was on a British Airways flight reading and it said ONTHE upon a time.
Oh, yes?
ONTHE upon a time. And I couldn't get in my head why it was like ONTHE upon a time. And then it's like, oh my God, it's once upon a time.
Exactly. And so we're going to do a sort of COVID busting charity event for them, an online virtual dog walk. So the idea is, so that we don't all have to get together and risk mixing and social distancing issues, people just have to go into their nearest store, Marbella or Fuengirola on the Costa del Sol, give a €5 donation, and then they'll get a certificate to say they're going to participate, and they can take their dog on any length of walk at any time and take pictures and share, so that everybody knows that we are collaborating, and really shines the light on this great charity that I think many people in the expat community have no idea about.
We take it for granted, say for example in Madrid, because you buy the ONCE, the lottery ticket every day. It's a very cheap ticket, everyone buys it, someone's a winner every day, it's a big deal. So yes, without a doubt, it's a foundation that we certainly need to cover in more detail. So that's really cool with Specsavers.
Yes.
What else is going on?
And then we've got as well, again, a bit on the eco line. I have a lovely client, Cloud9 Spain. You interviewed Sean Woolley on the show.
Very, very fun. fun personality.
Lovely guy. And he has recently teamed up with a family of German architects called the Schween family. And they're creating eco-builds, recycling shipping containers to create low cost, low impact and very quick to build properties. And I'm delighted to see this kind of innovation going on and using Marbella as a kind of test ground, really, because we've got a lot of land, we've got plots available, and the things that they can do with these shipping containers is amazing.
It's on that very much in the fashion right now, those small homes, the little living, scaling down, and I have to say it definitely is a fascinating concept.
I think it's amazing. And what I hadn't realised is that you've got all these shipping containers going around the world, and they end up in where their destination is, and they're often single use, so they don't then go back again, so they're sitting cluttering up the ports. It takes a lot of energy to melt them down, they're not being reused. So this is a great example of upcycling, really, and creating an issue to the affordable homing issue as well.
With your marketing in general, you do a lot of posts on LinkedIn, you're very active in LinkedIn, lots of different social media outlets. What would be your biggest tip for the viewers at this moment who want to do something on social media but don't really know where to start because there's so many places to go?
I know. Well, I mean, social media is, I think, probably the most easy to use marketing tool that we have in our armory. And for small businesses, it's just perfect. And I would say to them, don't get overly, freaked out by all the platforms. Work out where your ideal customer goes. And if there's only one place, let's say they hang out in TikTok if they're younger, focus on that. If they're businesses, look at LinkedIn. If it's general, I would say probably Facebook. And just get into a point of understanding what you're offering them, giving them some really useful advice, not just sales. This is a case of the broadcasting thing. You need to be sharing and interacting. And just make sure you consistently share useful, good information, and people will interact, and you're sure to get traction.
Exactly. I think those tips that you can give, like you give from Shaw Marketing Service, just give it a quick plug, but those little tips, I think, are what people are looking for, because a lot of times, especially when you're stressed, you don't feel you have time to listen to a lot of, so you just want those short,
Exactly. And I think as well, you feel when you don't have enough time, where do I put my energy? And I think what happens is the people say, well, I can't do it, or they'll do the social media and then they'll sort of drop off. Whereas what I always say to people is schedule posts when you've got time. So create maybe 10 posts. If you're not very active, do one a week and just schedule it up in the Facebook scheduler, and then you can forget about it for the next 10 weeks. Then if you've got more content, add it in. But at least you know you've got a base and it's covered.
So try to keep it consistent.
Exactly.
Even if it's not frequent, consistent.
Yes, you are definitely better to post less but more frequently than do what I'm sure you've seen as well, where people post every day for 3 months and then you never see them again.
It's tricky finding time for everything, which is why obviously counting on professionals who dedicate to that makes it a lot easier. Obviously you guys are open to clients, helping with social media, marketing.
Absolutely. It's actually definitely a growth area for us to do social media for people, which I think in a way is a surprise because it is so easy to use. But I think people realise that a lot of the time their time is spent better selling and dealing with their customers and dealing with their businesses rather than that aspect. So we can just create the content and post it all for them and they don't have to worry about it.
Exactly. Or maybe even just to spend time doing something you like or with your family.
Yes.
Because you always think about how can we be more productive and more work. And I think one of those things that we need to remember is that we need to spend more time just actually living,
deconnecting and just relaxing, and I think that's as well where the creativity comes in, doesn't it? You know, just sitting over a glass of wine with a good friend and chewing the fat, you can get an awful lot of inspiration that way.
Exactly. If you ask for answers, you have to be quiet enough sometimes to listen to the replies.
Absolutely.
Georgina Shaw, thank you so very much.
Thank you, Nicole.
Well done on everything that you're doing. Very exciting, and well done to our ZeroHero partners who are offering free soft drinks to designated drivers. We're going to hear some messages from them now, and also from Linea Directa, some great little cartoon ads showing all the great things they do for their policyholders, including 4 times a month free taxi. Yeah, sounds too good to be true, so it's hard to say. Anyway, don't go away, because we'll be back after this.
Sometimes it's nice to just get lost in the moment without a care in the world.
However, if something does come up and you find you're actually lost, it's also nice to know that you can call Linea Directa to come and find you. Call Linea Directa on 952 14 78 34 to see how they can better your life too.
Out of bounds, ZeroHero partners.
Here we are, sticker going on, delighted to welcome everybody and to be part of the ZeroHero campaign. Delighted.
ZeroHero, welcome here at the Gaucho de Maroons.
We are at we are at
And welcome to Lemongrass, Doña Lola. Thank you very much.
ZeroHero, welcome to Portofino, Cabo Pino.
let it set you on your way. No need to
Guys, Kazatua is proud to welcome the ZeroHeroes. So come on in and enjoy free soft drinks for anyone who is the designated driver. Thank you, Nicole.
Welcome back to the program. I'm heartwarmed to welcome my next guest. Her name is Esther Ráez, and I met her because she promotes Kudeka, the charity that raises money and awareness for people who suffer with cancer. It also has a hospice, and it has a team that visits people in their homes. And Esther is just such a caring person that it's always nice to see you, because you just bring kindness with you. So lovely to see you again, Esther.
Lovely to see you too. That's really nice that you say that about me.
But it's true. And in fact, it was only when we were together last time at Art Cafe, talking about the sunflower effect with Kudeka.
That's right.
And we were chatting afterwards, and we were talking about your compassion and different things, and the feelings of loss and different ways of losing. And then you said to me, you know my brother. And I was like, no, what? And Raúl, our cameraman, said, yes, Nicole, you do. And that's when the penny dropped, that Pablo Ráez was your brother. And literally just 4 years ago, February?
Yeah, February.
Is the anniversary
20th,
of his
yeah.
passing. It's a process. Is time helping? They say time helps. Is it helping?
I think so.
I think so.
Time helps a lot, and everybody who has gone through any loss know that after some time you go understanding your feelings much better, and you go incorporating the new stage in which you're in. So you have to deal with your emotions in a different way, from a different angle, and so everything changes. But at the same time, when the acute pain is disappearing slowly, you go again understanding more, well, that you have to live without this person that you've lost, and that's obviously a big change, but you can see the light after the tunnel. So
I have to say that obviously the tragedy and the loss is never going to be over. But so many of us learned so much through Pablo. I had no idea about bone marrow, that you could donate it. I had no idea that it had anything to do with leukemia. I had no idea that someone so young could get something like that. So curiously, how much other people have benefited from your suffering and from his loss. Pablo was an example, siempre fuerte, always strong.
yeah.
And I believe that the donations of bone marrow went up like over 1,000%, over 11,000 extra people donated.
Yeah.
So it must have been a confusing time, but inspirational. At least something really good has come out of it.
you've explained it really brilliantly. It's a difficult process to go through because, of course, losing someone, everybody suffers, everybody goes through pain, but there are certain aspects of the way this person leaves you that can change your life afterwards. So in the case of my brother, he became really popular, as you just said. He developed this ability for social media. We have to remember that when my brother was born, it was 1996, and internet was just popping up here in Spain. So I remember my brother using the mouse of the computer when he was not even one. So he's grown with the internet. So he's a generation very used. He belongs to this generation which is very technological. So this is something natural within himself. He is coming from my family in which we have always talked to each other. It's something that comes from my mom, I think. And she was always talking to us. She was always asking questions. How do you feel? What do you think? What could we do about this? It was something natural that came up with her. So I think he inherited these two things. He learned with the technology, and he got this ability to talk and express and communicate. He used social media, and he was an honest person, an honest young man. So he was successful with that. We have to remember that today, 80 people every day become bone marrow donors, new 80 people a day. So that's because of him, because of his impact. When I go out to the street, when I go out to work, when I go out to places and I meet people, and some people get to know who I am because I don't really publicly talk too much about it. But when I go to places and somebody recognizes me, it's always really nice, excuse me, because everybody has something nice and beautiful to tell me about my brother and what he did for this person, even though they didn't ever meet. But at the same time, it's hard because it's a constant reminder of not having him. So through therapy, I've learned how to cope with this. It's hard, it's beautiful, but it's hard. Sometimes I get frustrated, sometimes I get super happy, sometimes I've got all types of feelings mixing up at the same time, and it's difficult inside. But in the end, I wouldn't change myself to any other person because I got the chance to know him.
I mean, the same in this respect. At the time, 4 years ago, when we all wanted to rally round and support, and now wanting to remember him because it was so great and you don't want to forget, but at the same time not wanting to bring it up for you to make you go through it. But it is those bittersweet things that you really don't know. It's a hard thing to know how to speak to somebody, that you don't want to not to pay respects and talk about it, but at the same time you don't want to upset somebody. So it's difficult to
It's
balance.
difficult for all of us because I understand that you or anybody have this need to express something that had to do with my brother because it was a huge thing for everyone. You just need to go to his social networks and see what people say.
It was an amazing mural in, why Cartagena? What was his relationship with Cartagena for that enormous, beautiful mural?
I don't know, Nicole. It's everywhere, not only there. It's in almost in every town, in every city in Spain. There's something about my brother. I lost count, I lost track of everything. But in the beginning, it was a lot of awards that we were receiving as a family in the name of my brother. And after that, the Spanish community just, I don't know, they want to remember him, and they do graffitis everywhere. They put his name into streets and squares and benches on the street. It's incredible. It's overwhelming. It's something that I have no words to thank, but at the same time, it's so emotional. It's so sad.
You work with Kudeka, so unfortunately your actual nature of your work is very much related to people passing on. But I suppose there is no preparation for anyone for how it feels when it comes to it. But I often wonder how you deal, just on a day-to-day, anyone who works with the Butterfly Children Charity, with Kudeka, with all these different associations, that people have to be so brave and face so much. Thankfully, there are people like yourself involved, helping just like take some of the burden away, ease the pain.
Well, I'm not in close relationship with all the families and the patients when they're going through their last days. So that's not exactly my job, but of course I'm in contact with many relatives, because when somebody passes away, sometimes relatives want to do something to give back to the community through Kudeka, and they want to organize charity events, or they want to do things, or when they get over when some time is passing, and so that's when I come in. So I'm lucky enough to step into the lives of these people when they want to celebrate the life of their loved ones. So it makes it a little bit easier for me to deal with it, but I have to say that you're very right. Sometimes these people tell me their stories, and it's always sad.
So we need each other to have that supportive ear to listen, and to have people like your brother who really have set an example, in the sense you couldn't have been braver in the face of what he was going through and the physical steps that you all went through together.
Yeah, I think he was the bravest. He was the bravest. I don't know if you say that, bravest.
Yes, he certainly was.
I think he was the bravest because he was the one in pain, really, and he was the one who was leaving and going. But he set an example. He actually showed me how to die, because you never get to know that until you die yourself, or you see someone you love dying. And I saw him dying. So that is a privilege. It's really rough and tough, but it is a privilege, and you learn to see it that way after some time. I have to tell you, my brother died on a Saturday, and the next Saturday my grandfather died as well. Both of them died with me, with my hand. It was, I've never gone through something like that. I hope I will never have to do that again. But if I am in that position again, I know I'll be grateful for that.
There to the end, and knowing that love, that you're going on a journey with love. You're a very loving person and a very much loved person. And I really appreciate you sharing your feelings, because a lot of people go through loss. Very few have your ability to share your feelings, and I know it helps others to talk about it and hear others share. And bone marrow donating is something most of us can do. A kind of thing, I'm too old. I checked it out a few years ago, but within a certain age group, I don't think it's even a dangerous or difficult or painful thing to do.
No, it's actually a very simple process. Yeah, I think today you have to be between 18 and 55 years old, I think. And if you're healthy and you're not pregnant and things like that, you have to be healthy in a good condition, physical condition. You just go to the center where you can donate your blood, and you just say you want to be donor, bone marrow donor, and they just take a sample of your blood. It's not even donating blood, it's just a sample, a drop. And then they've got your DNA and your details, your genetic details, and it goes into the system, the REDMO. And then this is international. If it happens that you are compatible with someone else, they will call you. And that's when the process really starts. If you are potentially going to help someone, to help save someone's life, you will have to go to the hospital, and then they will give you this anesthetic, and then they take through your bag, they take bone marrow from you. That's a bit painful, but that's why you do have the anesthetic first, so it's not painful and it's not dangerous at all. And then they take it from you and they send it to the right person, to the person who's in need. The only details you can know about this person is his or her nationality, his or her age, and gender. Nothing else. So
helping the unknown, but if you give that facility, at least there's that option for somebody, and sometimes it is very helpful, even if it's just to buy time.
You never know. You never know, and that costs you nothing. And
Thank you
at
so
work
much.
they will give you permission, so that's okay.
Okay, so all of you, to the Costa del Sol Hospital and say you would like to be tested to see if you're suitable for donating bone marrow, because we all need to, not need to, but I think it's nice to remember someone like Pablo Ráez, someone as nice as Esther, and who does so much for us to help other people, which is such a hard time to be so selfless. Siempre fuerte.
Siempre fuerte, Nicole.
Siempre fuerte. Esther, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
That's it for today. Well, we were going to talk about Kudeca, but we talk about that a lot. It was nice to remember lovely Pablo Ráez. Rest in peace. You will never be forgotten, without a doubt. And donate bone marrow. It's very good. We'll be back tomorrow with more of what's going on in Marbella now. Cuidaros. Hasta mañana.
Change if we try. Just believe it's worth your